Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Officially, as House Speaker, it is my privilege to bring greetings from the Congress of the United States, where our colleague John Lewis served for over 33 years. Personally, it is my honor to honor our dear friend. And I know in saying that, I speak for all of my colleagues who are here. With your permission, I'd like them all to stand so you can see them all at once. And earlier, Dennis acknowledged many of them, but I do want to again acknowledge some who have made it bipartisan, who have made it such a large number. Representative from Georgia, Mr. Carter. Now, stand up as I do this so people can see you. Okay. Dan Kildee. Okay. Mark Vesey. Brenda Lawrence. Nanette Barragan. Hank Johnson. Anthony Brown, Mr. Carvajal of California, Mr. Garamendi of California, Congresswoman Jackie Spear of California. I think the rest were introduced. I do want to acknowledge, again, Akima Williams, who serves in the position that John Lewis served in for so long. And as Dennis acknowledged, that Terry Sewell is carrying the legislation that was mentioned. Thank you, Terry Sewell. And while I take credit for a lot that my members do, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Joyce Beatty, organized this trip. Thank you, Joyce Beatty. And of course, all of our chairs and the chair of our caucus as well. Mr. Mayor, Madam Councilwoman, thank you for the hospitality of San Diego as we are all here, and the hospitality to our men and women in uniform on the ongoing. Thank you to the mayor and the councilwoman for that. Okay. Thank you to all who have made this tribute possible. And I particularly want to join the others in acknowledging Ray Mabus, Secretary Ray Mabus. Ray Mabus, who knew that John's life was worthy of recognition, not just of a ship, but an entire class of ships. We're honored also that General Kurtz is here with us as well. I'll come back to Ray in a bit. It's an honor to be with the members of our military, represented by Vice Admiral Ross Myers, Rear Admiral Thomas Anderson, and let us extend congratulations to the captain of the ship, Captain Kevin Farron. Thank you, Captain Farron. Okay, Rear Admiral Michael Wetlauer, thank you. 105 ships? A little more, but 150 ships? Wow. Thank you. We're all in your debt. Thank you so much. And again, all who serve our country in uniform, thank you for the inspiration you are for us in Congress to build a future worthy of your sacrifice. We're grateful to David Carver, to Dennis Dubois, and NASCO, and the men and women of labor who built this ship, and with great skill and great patriotism. Let us thank our workers. Now, I know Ray Mabus was great in naming this ship, but I did not know that he designated the sponsor of the ship. And John Lewis, I'm sure, had a role in that. We are so inspired by you. Let me call you Madam Sponsor of the Ship. I mean, really, she is, Alfie Woodard Spencer, somebody so very, very special. And the matron of honor, happy birthday to you. Claudetta, Flo, Maccabee, Stewart, and the flower girl, Jana. Where's Jana? There she is. Precious Jana again. Again, this is a ritual. And we have to recognize all that goes into it, intellectually, personally, and in a constructive way in every way. All of us are honored to be with the family. John would have liked that speech, not just because of its brevity. He was into that for the rest of us. But wasn't that remarkable? So we thank Deborah, Marcus, Rosalind, Jonathan, Anthony, Master, Caitlin, and again, a member of John's family officially in every way, Michael Collins. Michael. Thank you, Michael, for making everything so possible for John. Okay, it is fitting that we honor John Lewis with this formidable ship because John Lewis was a warrior. One of the mottos of the Navy is Semper Fortis, always courageous. And John Lewis was indeed always courageous. How perfect it is that the motto of this ship, the ship bearing his names, is unremarkable perseverance. Unremarkable perseverance. For this ship will be a beacon to the world, reminding all who see it of the persistence and courage of John Lewis. And John Lewis and the finest navies and merchant marines in the history of the world that this ship is a part of. Let's hear it for our navies and the Navy and the merchant marine. I think it's really important to note that this is something fresh and new. Under Secretary Mavis's leadership, other warriors for freedom were similarly honored. Chief Justice Earl Warren, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, the suffragist Lucy Stone, abolitionist Sojourner Truth. How about that? LGBTQ pioneer Harvey Milk, and labor leader Cesar Chavez. So, John always demonstrated courage with his presence. Be there, John would say. His presence as the first of the Freedom Riders and the head of SNCC. His presence as the youngest speaker on the March on Washington, and as his presence as a hero on the march from Selma to Montgomery. And his presence as the conscience of the Congress, where he served for 3 decades. He and I were in the same class, so that means we came in the same class of Congress. So we both served together for over 30 years, so I'm not sure I can get through this to the end of this speech because we all have so many memories of John. John's great courage made him revered in the Congress. In the halls of the Capitol, he was fearless in the pursuit of a more perfect union, whether voting rights or fighting to defend voting rights, ending LGBTQ discrimination, stopping gun violence, epidemic, everything you can name. My colleagues and I will never forget his presence as he led a sit-in on the floor of the House to end gun violence. Well, it was thought that he would be arrested for that, and everybody was lining up to be arrested with John Lewis. Not only then, but other times. John had the presence not only to lead the civil rights movement, but also help lead all Americans with a greater understanding of the movement. He always wanted us to see the struggle through his eyes. That is why, for years, he took members of Congress from across America to Selma. On the 50th anniversary, the presence of John Lewis and President Barack Obama linking arms while retracing John's steps over the Edmund Pettus Bridge was an iconic picture of progress. Barack Obama would not have been in that capacity without the sacrifice, courage, and perseverance, and the presence of John Lewis. As we celebrate a ship named for John, I want to recall his presence on a trip we took to Ghana under the leadership of the Congressional Black Caucus, Madam Baby. We went there to mark 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were sent by ships. So we're talking about ships here, right? By ships to America. I wish you could have seen the welcome John received. And I wish you could have seen his emotion at the door of no return, where enslaved people were sent through to board the ships that would take them to be enslaved in America. And John taught us that that was much a part of American history as the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Many of you were on that trip to Ghana with John, so you know how emotional that was for us. That was July of 2 years ago, 1 year before, a short time before we realized the challenge that he was facing. While John was a man of great courage and a fighter, he was always about nonviolence. He subscribed to the Gandhi theory of nonviolence, and in Gandhi's language, in Sanskrit, the word for the word satyagraha had two meanings: nonviolence and insistence on the truth. Nonviolence and insistence on the truth. John Lewis always insisted on the truth. As was mentioned at that lunch counter in Nashville, where he began his civil rights journey, his presence in Nashville. Today, as we gather here, on the day that John left us, a year after John passed away, today in Nashville, a street is being named in John Lewis's honor. That was a first step for John in the civil rights movement. On his last day in Washington, just before he left, Michael, you were with him, just before he left to return to Atlanta, just about a few days ago, a couple weeks ago last year, his last day, John Lewis went to Black Lives Matter Plaza to see the movement go into the future. It was such a beautiful, beautiful smile on his face to see his work going into the future with Black Lives Matter, and they will have a vigil in his honor tonight in Washington. Last July, John returned to the Capitol for the final time. He came, having left us, but he came to lie in state in the Hall of Heroes. And that lying in state was profound because he lay in state on the same catafalque that was built for another hero, his hero, President Abraham Lincoln. When I came here, people asked me about this flag, this pin I have. It's a flag. And this flag is something I brought to John on 4th of July of last year when I went to see him for the last time in Atlanta. I brought him this flag pin. On the pin it says, "One country, one destiny." One country, one destiny. Those words were embroidered in Abraham Lincoln's coat that he had on that fateful night. He probably wore the coat every day, but that was in his coat, and it is on his pin, and it is in John Lewis's heart. One country, one destiny. So, as we know John, he always met the challenge to be present. As was said, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you must speak up. Find a way. That's presence. Find a way. Get in good trouble. Right? Let's say it all together. Get in good trouble. In that spirit, let us heed John's guidance to strive for a more perfect union. May God bless U.S. Navy ship John Lewis, and may it always find fair winds and following seas. May God bless the men and women of the Merchant Marine who will serve aboard it. God truly blessed America with the life, legacy, and leadership of John Lewis. May God continue to bless America. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. So last night, many of you in the audience got a chance to hear some words from our sponsor. And so now this morning, we get another opportunity to hear from her. Please welcome Ms. Alfre Woodard Spencer, the sponsor for the USNS John Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Glory, everybody. I'm probably going to make you guys crazy, but because I am going to shout, because there is so much to shout about. First of all, John Lewis, presente. John Lewis, presente. John Lewis. Presente. Oh, come on. John Lewis. Presente. He lives in the unalterable truths he spoke to power. He lives in all the spaces where people reach out their hands to welcome, to protect, to feed, to vote, to encourage. In all those places where people say, amen. John Lewis lives in all the spaces where people reach out their hands to pull others up to the lives that they deserve. And now he lives in the name and the embodiment of this mighty sailing vessel and its mission of fortifying and sustaining those who have committed themselves to the service of our nation. This insistent, courageous, and peaceful warrior was not only the conscience of the Congress, he was the true action hero of our times. He never hesitated to put his body on the line for justice. From the moment he set out as a teenager, as Dr. King dubbed him, the boy from Troy, onward across his purpose-filled walk among us, he became a man for all seasons. In his recognition of justice as a God principle and as a human right. He stood up, he sat in, he spoke out, and he got into more than his share of very good trouble. John did it out of a fidelity to truth and out of his unqualified respect and pure love for the people. I'm grateful to you, Secretary Mavis, for recognizing the fact that John Lewis was, in all caps, an American hero. I thank you for acknowledging John Lewis stood for his country. He took blows for his country. He walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge for his country to deliver and keep delivering justice for all the people of his country. His challenge to us, his fellow Americans, was either these are our ideals or they are not. And if they are, we must live by them. John couldn't be here today in the way in which we are accustomed. It's been a year since he set sail in purer waters. We miss him on this platform, but we will never be without him. Naming the first of the John Lewis class of Fleet Replenishment Oilers couldn't be a more fitting partnering. Across his anointed life, John Lewis brought the sustenance of rightful purpose to a country hungering for justice. May his legacy to do the right thing continually refine our aims as a people with the launch of this magnificent ship. Like the man himself, the presence of the USNS John Lewis, may it inspire justice as a mission, peace as a goal, and compassion as a way of moving. This lady sails in a legacy as deep as the waters she traverses. Captain Farron, may John's playful, joyful spirit and mischievous humor lift your days and the days of all of those who will sail under her mast and who will arrive to our Navy folk as evidence of their nation's regard for them and as a familiar touch of home. Your great ship of supply set sail, creating community, fostering fellowship of which John Lewis heartily approved. May it inspire the thoughts and fuel the actions of those of us left on land. I stopped using the term honored a while ago. After six decades, it had started to feel reflexive, and I needed it to regain its weight, and I am so glad I did, because today, from the depth of my being, I tell you, I am honored. I am fortunate. I bow down in this moment that Secretary Mabus has placed us by commissioning this essential vessel. And I praise the wisdom, the ingenuity, and the engineering you shipbuilders have brought to this and to the rest of the fleet. I lift up all those hands on deck who will serve and her throughout her commission. I am beyond elated to have my name in association with the good John Lewis, with the Honorable John Lewis, and I am joyously remembering our last time together here in our fast-track welding lessons as we put the names our steady fathers gave us at the balancing point of this ship. I am eternally grateful to have lived in the time of John Robert Lewis. Thank you.
Captain Farron, I think the ship is in good hands with this sponsor going forward. Thank you very much. So now there's one other thing she has to do, and that is she has to bring this ship to life, and that's breaking the bottle of champagne on the hull. So now it's time for our president, Dave Carver, our sponsor, Alfrey. Please proceed to the striker platform. You have a little bit of work to do. Let's hear from the Navy band. I think they're preparing to get wet. They're shaking the bottle. Ms. Woodward, would you please christen the ship?
For the United States of America, I christen thee, John Lewis. May God bless this ship and all who sail in her.